Hello, welcome to another live Pioneer game. My name is John, and with me today, I'm with Dave Jones. We're going to be
Hey,
looking at an interesting two decks here. One may say that one deck is kind of hoping to draw the heart of the cards. Am I right in saying that, Dave?
the heart of the cards. Well,
That's it.
there's definitely a lot of heart in the strategy that we're seeing from our player on the right here. We are watching a Gruul vehicles, or as we like to locally call it, Gruul boats. This
Hmm.
is a five-color Neoform deck, which has seen a big uptick and rise in play across the whole of the metagame.
All right.
In this particular build, though, they're focusing on the Agent of Treachery concept. So, ramp yourself up, stick a creature that's helped you ramp, and then Neoform yourself into Agent of Treachery and start causing all hell and disruption. Possibly a difficult matchup, but we're watching a turn one Gilded Goose to make some food. Some food,
Ooh,
and
that is
yeah,
a beautiful gilded goose.
it for sure is. But a turn one elf is never a great sign, especially when we've seen this Gruul Vehicles player before. They're they're very very skillful with this deck, and I'm not
Hmm.
gonna leave too many windows open if they don't if they get a chance.
Yeah, our five-color player is sort of contemplating a play, and there is the Neoform, the namesake.
Yep.
So, what's Neoform going to be searching for here from the Gilded Goose?
Well, they've gone and got it. Something like Incubated Druid or any mana rock really on two, which is going to help them. The big thing about getting this would then also mean it's got the counter, which will
Mm.
help them ramp for more and more mana as we go. Um, Suggests there wasn't really a plan. There wasn't really anything coming from the hand, um, or maybe they just had this plan all along, and this is where they were going
Mm.
with it.
It's kind of interesting how the five-color player didn't decide to use the food token, right?
Yeah, right. Because that ramp kind of disappears, right? If you um once you do that. But with the Incubation Druid live with a 1/1 counter on it, effectively that was creating 5 mana.
Oh.
But quite smartly, the Gruul player's gone and obliterated bolted away that threat. Um, Slowing everything down. There is another, but again, this means just 1 mana ramp. So, despite the fact another land has gone down, this is slowing them right down.
And it's interesting how there is like a main deck obliterating bolt as well, right? And we see a stomp coming out for the Gruul player as well. But is that sort of like a local meta call or just a general meta call? Is there enough 4 toughness creatures and or planeswalkers, right, in this meta to warrant a main deck obliterating bolt, Dave?
Um, it's something that our local meta is definitely aligned with the changes that are happening across the scene. Obliterating Bolt and Scavenging Ooze have become have found themselves back in the standard build. We've seen it in previous games on this channel, and it takes one word. But instead of saying one word, I'm gonna do the description. The futuristic cat on a bike is a very, very
Oh
big
yeah,
threat, and it just needs dealing with. So
yeah.
that is what you see coming in more. Is that they just want to be able to deal with Greasefang, and yeah, Obliterating Bolt does that quite well.
Mm. And the werewolf coming down and a plains card to represent the day and night for this game.
Yep,
Pretty clever way. The plains card is essentially showing the sun on the front side,
sure. I hope they have a dark
and
graveyard for the back.
a very aggressive strategy at the moment from our very own Gruul Boats player.
Sure.
And I'm not entirely sure what the Neoform deck could do in this position. Do they run board wipes? Would we
The
be able to see
we do see
like
bounce cards. We do see board wipes. Path of Peril being one, I believe, that they
hmm,
run. Um, they are pretty much thinking, yeah, and they've gone straight away and said, "You're gonna kill me in 2 turns. Let's go to game two." So let's go take a look at these decks and these sideboards, and we'll be right back with game two. Hey everyone, we interrupt sideboarding this week to say thank you ever so much for helping us hit 100 followers. However, somewhere in the region of 80% of you are still not subscribed. It's absolutely free and it's all trading card games, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, Pokemon, even Lorcana when it comes out. We're here for your entertainment. And if you then don't like it, it's free to unsubscribe. You can also come and find us over on Twitch TV. With a new expansion out this week, we are streaming a lot of new drafts and new Pioneer / Explorer builds, and even Standard as we go into the new meta. We've already shown you example deck lists during this break, as we didn't manage to get these on the night. However, round about this are what has been played in the Pioneer meta, and close to what you see in the gameplay. With no further ado, let's take you back to Game 2.
And thank you, Dave Jones. And yes, please subscribe. It really helps out the channel. But what really didn't help our five-color player was the lack of board presence against that oppressive board state from the Gruul Boats player, Dave.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just walk into a matchup though, right, which is just not suitable for your game plan. Definitely the game one game plan for this deck is not going to match up well against Boast. So looking at the sideboards that we have, let's hope there is some rafts that'll come in. There is some spot removal because the Neoform deck will need to just stay in touch for turns 3, 4, and 5 before they can start raining down hell. However, we do talk about Agent of Treachery. The Gruul Boats deck does have its own Agent of Treachery effect in the Akroa War, where the enchantment comes down and takes away that really big threat, and we actually see one in hand right now. So
Oh,
on the draw, they look very well prepared for any potential big threat that actually gets there,
yeah.
and not cannot go too great for them that they're actually going down to 6 here, which might actually be a bad sign.
On the
Whilst
play as well. But
absolutely.
yeah, like you said, the five-color deck needs to have more interaction with the board. And it was that lack of it that really sort of just made it so one-sided.
Yeah.
Going into game 2, the sideboard plan must be I have to deal with the board. I have to stabilize before I go into the game plan, right?
Yeah. And you have to focus on how I'm staying alive, because you're not really given the time to develop. You know, if you hit your land drops and you play your creatures, which will help keep you in the game, that will also serve the purpose, which is get to those later turns. We see a
Oh,
Razorverse Thicket here on turn 1, and a, a cut. Yeah. I think just pointing out there that you just moved your deck and the bottom of your deck wasn't staying there, but keeping it neat and tidy. An elf as well on turn
it
1.
is. It was an elf on turn 1 as well. A very familiar. The only thing different about this game and the last game was that there wasn't a turn 1 goose. So it very much the Gruul player is already sort of looking to get on that aggressive plan again. It can go turn 3 werewolf again to be quite oppressive, but what is this 2-mana card being played by our 5-color player?
We're
Even the
gonna
Gruul Boats player doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, we're gonna deck check on that. I believe this is wow. I actually don't know this card. We'll have to we'll take a rain check and grab this from the deck list shortly. Importantly, it's further targets, right? It's further targets for Atraxa and up. They're looking at Miglos here on the Gruul Boat side. Miglos is just such a big body, like
Yeah.
I
And it kind of does all sort of a lot of things that you want to do within the colors. It answers enchantments. It can get big. It could get some evasion. There's a reason he's called the Maze Ender, right? There are no walls that stop this card. It just gets through.
absolutely.
It does one thing really well. And in a Gruul style deck that sort of just wants to have creatures that are very valuable, can just do the one job right. And Miglos is that type of card. Yeah, there's a reason this card is legendary. And we do see our 5 color player playing that card, playing the 2/4 Dryad. So I believe this does fix sort of some of the mana color issues, right?
Yeah, that's right. I just looking it up. I believe we're seeing a Lavinia Azorius Renegade on the Neoform side there,
All
where
right.
opponents can't cast non-creature spells or convert the mana cost greater than the number of lands they control. So it does actually
Oh,
slow down ramp, which it
and
does serve a purpose.
you spoke about that enchantment that can steal. Oh, and you do speak about that enchantment that can steal the a creature from the 5 color deck. But now that's being stalled because that elf she cannot ramp it into play. You now need 4 mana to play it sort of fairly, right?
Yeah, exactly. And here's a goose. So, and here's a incubation druid. So they unfortunately are top decking. So
Yeah.
they have mana, maybe not all the mana they want, but interested to see how
It's
they
one of those
sequence things.
situations. Yeah, it's one of those situations, right, where you come across a ramp strategy, and one of the biggest faults in a ramp strategy like this is that when you just have the ramp, right? Like we saw Lavinia, we saw the Dryad, but ultimately all we saw was ramp, and that's not the position you want to be when you're trying to keep up, especially with the board that is being generated by the Gruul Boats player. They're deciding whether or not to buy their partner, but instead opts to play the 4/3 giant. And this is, I believe, a correct decision because, like, we're only seeing ramp pieces on the board. You might as well play to the board, be more aggressive, force some blocks from those creatures, and then suddenly you're sort of back to the same situation as game one, right? Where the
Y-
board is just too backbreaking.
Yeah, the door was open to just develop the board and say I'm ready for you. I think we did see a Titan of Industry come off
Mm.
the top, which due to the lack of food means that we are like 2 mana away from. Or is that? Believe no, actually believe that
The face down card is a food
is
token.
a food. So I believe we are 1 mana off casting that, which would have been impactful because you can get a lot of great triggers off Titan of Industry. But here is a
Mm.
Chrono War. I guess taking the Incubation Druid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
it's the creature with the power to smack face, so it's not a bad target,
yeah.
and it again slows the ramp strategy. Like that 7 mana card with only 5 mana on the board, and you're looking at 9 damage. So sorry, 4 damage on the swing with a potential activation of Miglaws as well to make it bigger.
Yeah, for sure. And interestingly, here, the correct thing probably would have been to actually block with the goose because you're forced to block with the goose. Oh, so you're
Mm,
forced to attack with the goose in a turn. So,
yeah,
like, well, I see actually the reason for not now. Actually, it was create a food, sack a food, to kind of gain a bit more life. But yeah, next
we
to
yeah we're
the goose is forced.
yeah we are in essentially the exact same board situation as the first game. I Does the heart of the cards save our 5 color player?
Well,
Will have they top deck the board wipe they need? We do see a Neoform.
yeah,
Neoform on the Goose probably isn't the ideal play. There is a Titan on the hand as well. And you're looking at more damage than you can actually deal with on this crackback, even with a block. Because you can give Miglaw's Menace with one of its abilities.
for sure. And this just arcs to the well, the archetype of this is definitely seeing some constructed play. It's seeing more constructed play with the delve effect. We're seeing Tassica and Hooted Mandrills
Hmm.
being played as targets to then neoform in straight into an Atraxa essentially. The deck before the release of battles has still done well in online leagues and in competitive play. and we're only probably going to see it go from strength to strength, having that extra target of a battle.
Hmm.
Either plays a pseudo control, pseudo tricky game plan style that very much like this eventually wins out based on you starving the opponent of resources. They have gone for Deputy of Detention, is it? No.
I mean, we're all wanting to read this card. So in this position, obviously, this card has been chosen to try to help stabilize the board slightly, but the 5 color deck has just given up what is essentially a mana source for this play. And
Yeah.
passing the turn back, there is just a lot of power on the board. Still has access to their opponent's card.
Is this even a
We're
big enough
now
blocker?
possibly, um, but with Miglaws on the board, and even with the 2 Mutavaults, the Gruul Boats deck can just go even wider. They're
Yeah.
having to think about what to do, and using the mana from the opponent's creature, attacking in with the Mutavault. It's just the whole board's in.
It's just game.
Ma-
That's game there.
yeah, math is indeed for blockers in this position. Doesn't matter what the player blocks, they are taking more than 8 damage. I don't believe this card. Even if this card had lifelink, there is 3 life from the food possibly, and they are cracking the food. And yep, did the math. What a very powerful display from the Gruul Boats player.
It just shows that this deck can't be counted out of the meta, right? It's had a high rise into the tier 1/tier 2 area. Has kind of like literally the boats have stalled in a
Mm,
case of the deck hasn't really been dominant, but has always been playable. As
mm.
we are in a meta that's trending a little bit more towards combo, you can never discount just getting beaten down. And yeah, great display again here, and not much really to say about this deck other than when you gotta when you can you can drop a hasty 3/3 on turn 2, your plan is always in a good spot.
Yeah, what a great deck, and obvious is only going to get better as the meta continues.
Yeah, but we'll keep a lookout for any Neoform strategies and see